Alright, so we're back, and this is what I have here. So let's actually compare with the building we had previously. So here are the two of them, and you can see I actually massively reduced the triangle count on this building. The original one stood for 60,306 triangles, and the new one I did is only 12,000 triangles and 5. So, by the way, as I'm gonna be talking about kind of what I did here, you're gonna be watching to the left of the screen a little speed run of more or less how I was modeling the entire thing. So let's focus on the Lowpoly building here for a second, and you can see I did what I mentioned before, that I modeled the parking section as an individual object. I have it grouped right now, but yeah, this is an entire individual object, and it has the exact whole shape of the floors. I actually did this by I traced spline outlining the shape of the floor. I did this with the original model, and then using that spline that was matched to the shape of the whole first floor, I carved that on this geometry by using the cut tool, snapping to the spline. And after I did some connections, because when you start cutting on the geometry, you have to make some connections, otherwise it will be messed up, because the program will try to connect anywhere, and you will get this capped in weird ways. So always, as you start doing the cut, every now and then try to make a connection to some relevant vertex around. You will be able to see that on the speedrun video that I will actually upload it apart as just as reference, in case any of you will find it useful. So here in the fences, I actually just did a plane here to use as texture with opacity. I did this that with several things. These vents here from the original model that I was talking about, I also did that, and I also did that with the actual windows. You can see I didn't modeled the frames at all. I just did these planes, and I will actually use the original frames of the high poly model, and I will bake that detail as a texture that I will then apply to these planes, and it will actually look pretty good. But I will explain that, how to do that, in another tutorial. So I have these blocks going out of the main walls, and actually these ones I made it as separate elements, but I totally deleted the back sides. I got away with this because this structure, I modeled this as a single structure, and it is big, so I will actually use like a big light mat for this, and I don't think it will cause too dirty shadows on here. I don't think it will look bad at all. And I did this so I could save more polygons on this area for each floor, because if I intended to have this connected to this geometry, the poly count might be got up to 20,000 or something. So I wanted to keep it as as low as I could. But you can see that none of the lower sides of anything aside from this are modeled. I also modeled the interior of the building, but the method I used was actually making these boxes. Like you can see, I didn't did all the walls. All you need, because the windows will of course be somewhat transparent, and you will be able to see somewhere inside, but not in detail. So all you need is like some random walls inside, so then you can tell from the outside, like, oh yeah, this has rooms inside. But you don't need to go crazy on modeling internal walls or anything of it. You can see here that for every single window I did a box with some shape around it to give some depth to whatever room it should be. And you can do the shape of this box based somewhat in the shape of the actual apartments, but really don't try to make the internal walls, because you can see all this that I modeled here is just like 5,000 triangles. It's not that much. And of course I also simplified, as I was explaining before, connecting all these points, not leaving the loops go wrapping around the whole thing, but trying to collapse as most as I could without losing the original shape. Again, you can view more or less how I was making this on the speedrun video that I will upload aside. The other thing I want you to notice is that all this interior section of the floors are an individual object. You don't actually want this internal section to be part of the exterior section, because they should use separate light maps. I've mentioned the light maps several times now. I will actually explain what they are in the light map tutorial, and how can you deal with that. That has to deal on how the engine casts the illumination in your object based on a texture size, and each object will have a different light map texture size. But for now, just be mindful that you want your interior section, your interior model, to be separate than the external walls, and you want the same for your windows. And the windows is not only because of the light maps, but because when you're selecting the apartments, they have to lit up and stuff. So this will have a different procedure that I will also explain later. And the reason why I separated these walls from these walls is just to have to not make them share the same light map space, because this is a big object and this is also a big object, and it can be set up better if these are separate, in my opinion. So this whole building didn't took me that long. It took me, actually, you can see, around almost 3 hours for all these that I have here now. And the only thing I got missing was this tiny roof here, and this is actually pretty simple. What I will do with this, I wouldn't actually remodel this, but I will take the actual high poly model of this, which is not actually so high poly. I can see this was made with splines. So what I will actually do was open this group, check out these splines, and these are now 12 sides. I will actually downgrade this to 5 sides, and I will keep an auto smooth of 85 degrees. Now you can see they look smooth. You don't need more than that, because if you look from far away, this looks rounded already. You don't need more polygons than this. And on the case of these splines right here, I will actually, because this I suppose will be the railings of tiles, because this gazebo will have like tiles going on, that in this case we will actually use a texture, but I will actually get rid of that. I will also get rid of the interior section of this. Will be like all this I will get rid of. Let's see, yeah. And also this section here, this is also a spline. I will convert it to editable poly, and I will get rid of this section right here. I don't need it. So yeah, I've basically turned this into low poly already. I won't touch this, but I will actually make another capsule or whatever, and make it with less subdivisions, and that's it. But here for the railings, what I have done sometimes is that I select this, I do a chamfer, like trying to be the width of the railing. I put one subdivision there. Now this actually, like, let's make this again, but as a modifier. So chamfer, kind of the width there, and let's add one subdivision there. You will see what I'm intending to do in just a moment. So I will actually select this, I will select this, I will detach it, and now I will get rid of this, so the model below is the original thing, and this I will actually operate a bit, and this will be my railings on the corners. I do it like this so that I can put a tiled texture, give a little bit of thickness or thickness illusion to this. And then what I will do is that I will use the tile texture, and using the regular UV map I will start tiling the texture on this. So that's how I will leave this, and that's it. So I hope with all this now you have a more clear idea on how to proceed with your building project. So stay tuned with more tutorials of tips and tricks, and be sure to watch out the baking tutorials to know how to have texture going on the windows, and also the naming conventions you need in order for this to be functional within the engine. So see you next time.